everybody, and welcome to our first episode of Around the Realm Season 2. Pre-recorded. Yes, we love to see it. Told you guys we were glowing and growing. So, I am your host, Zelda Diana Black. You know me. And you know this guy right here, Carmen Askerneese,
Hello.
the man of cars. And he is also the DM for this season of Night City Stories. So,
Yes.
Thank you for being here, Carmen.
Thank you for having me here, Zelda. Literally, yes.
Literally. Went through the portal again.
Yeah.
So let's just delve into Night City Stories. So I feel like this is such a different take from season 2, which I thoroughly enjoy because, you know, like we went from this like medieval aesthetic adventure to a whole new cyberpunk and actually a whole new tabletop game, if I'm correct, right?
That's right. So, that's right, Zelda.
That's right.
Yeah, so cyberpunk is something that like I didn't really know too much about, and then I learned about Mike Pondsmith and like this cool system that he made, and this world that surrounds it, and I really wanted to. I love gang stories and like crime stories, and so I was like, let's tell a gang story, but make it like. Make it our version of that. Let's just say that. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like our
first
version.
episode, guess spoiled already.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really wanted to do that. And then at the time, the Cyberpunk Red system wasn't out. And so we used the Jumpstart kit, which is like abbreviated rules for the system. And none of us knew how, like, if we were going into D&D blind, we were like going into this like blind and asleep. Like we didn't, we were not ready. And so many times, like you'll see, we're just like, what was that rule again? How does this work? But in true fashion of how we do things, the main goal for us is that we're having fun. And so sometimes we bend the rules and we break the rules a little bit. But everybody had a good time, so that's what matters.
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my questions. I was wondering. So how did you kind of come up with like Night City Stories? Like, like I said, it's like definitely just like a very different contrasting, like also as we get into learning about the crew and everything, it's just a very different contrast. So how did you kind of stumble upon the game?
Yeah, so okay, this is a long story, but the short version is when I was working as a game designer at EA. I was the like chairperson for the ERG for Black developers, and we were looking for people who made a significant impact in the games industry, and that's how I came across Mike Pondsmith, and I discovered the system, and like Night City is the setting in the system that he created in that world, and if you played the Cyberpunk 2077 games or watched the Edge Runners anime, Night City is where those stories take place also. And so I wanted to make my own version of Night City, and the stories part of it came across because I was like introduced to this idea of like a single player campaign, or like either somebody playing both a player and a dungeon master, or like one dungeon master and one player. And so originally we were going to do episodes where it was like each player would have their own episode, and then like maybe they would converge. But there were just too many production complications with that, so we decided to pivot, but the name stuck, though.
Yeah, I do love that one, Night City Stories. And I just love the whole different, the whole different cyber aesthetic to the story. So, and you said that you didn't, like, before this campaign, you didn't play this game before.
Never. Never played this game before. So, like I said before, we played the red version of Cyberpunk, the Jumpstart kit. And so there is like the core Cyberpunk rulebook for the original game. I think it might have some subtitle. I forget if it does or doesn't. But we could have played that version, but that version was like, it's been around since like the 80s or 70s or 80s or something. And I was like, I don't have time to learn this. So I was looking for something that was like the abbreviated version of that, and the Jumpstart kit really fit that for me because it's a while for y'all when these come out, but like we were recording these pretty quick, just like back to back. So I didn't have too long to learn the system, but it worked out.
Wow. So how contrasting is it, like, from like being a DM for D&D to like being a DM for this type of game? Like, is there like what's the kind of difference? Do you think that it's harder in Cyberpunk? Do you think that it's easier?
Well, I think it's interesting because as a dungeon master, we draw a lot. Well, at least I do draw a lot of inspiration from like stories that I like and other types of media that I consume. And I never was really like super into fantasy stuff, mostly because of like it's we don't have to get into it about like the erasure and fantasy or whatever. But I just didn't see characters like me or the people that I knew in them, and so it was hard for me to kind of relate to those stories. So in a way, the Sovereign of Death campaign was harder because it was like I'm learning all these like the fantasy tropes and the like things of the genre that people like or want to see. I'm like learning that stuff. But for Cyberpunk, like it takes place more or less in the real world.
Yeah.
And so I can draw from my own inspirations from like the other crime and gangster stories that I like. So yeah, it was a lot easier to like get into the feel of the world.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because, I mean, for me, I think it was the exact opposite. I mean, I'm more so like medieval, and then, like, I love the medieval fantasy. And I feel like this, just like watching Cyberpunk was such a different ride for me. And that's what I enjoy about it, because it's something that I wouldn't have necessarily gone to. So, I mean, just seeing like all these characters, and speaking of the characters, we see some familiar faces. Mylan, who played Mady, is actually here playing Sid, and Aaron Fusco, America's best friend, who plays Zigzag, played Wind Snapdragon on the first season. And we do actually have some new people. And how did you meet the new cast members?
Okay, so let's see. New cast members, we have Ash Poprick. So Ash is someone who was behind the scenes on season 1, and they are someone that I met through like my time as like mentoring young game developers. I met Ash through a writer group that I set up, and I was like, this person's really cool. Let's like play tabletop stuff together. And that's kind of how that spawned, and we started doing a lot of stuff together. And then Ryan Colt Levy, who y'all may know as Chainsaw Man, is the wildest story of how I met Ryan. I messaged Ryan on Twitter, and I was like, hey, dude, I think you're cool. You want to hang out? It was way more like put together than that. But that was just of it. Is I just messaged him cold turkey, and he was like, yeah, like, let's talk. And so he was super cool. And this was like the first season. The first time that Ryan and I met was at we actually had a session 0 for this campaign. So that was the first time they all met. It was the first time that Ryan and I met also. Yeah, and let's see. So Aaron Fusco and Mylan are from the first game. Ryan and Ash are new. Is there somebody else? Oh, it's me. Yeah, no, I know me.
How did you get yourself on board?
Well, it all started. Let me take you back to the day.
And Larissa.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I didn't forget you. I just forgot to mention you before when I was listening on, but I'm making it worse. So anyway, I met Larissa. I messed up. I'm sorry. I met Larissa in 2020, like right before the pandemic.
Oh wow.
We actually did. I've probably talked about this before, but Rome's Roleplay started as like a live show, and we were doing live shows, and I met Larissa through Sissy, and we were hanging out, and I was like, oh, she's super cool. Let's like play more games together, and we did.
I love hearing this because your voice actors are really so chill. They're always like so down. I hear this all the time about like, oh, I just asked this and they were like, sure. I'm like, what? Wow, voice actors are so chill.
Yeah, super cool.
Wow. So in this case, like you kind of first met Ryan, you said, through like Night City Stories. Did everybody else, besides like we know that Mylan and Aaron know each other, but did everybody else like kind of meet each other through this as well?
I think the only people who knew each other were Mylan, Aaron, Ash. They all knew each other from the first season, and Mylan and Aaron knew each other from life.
From life.
But everybody else was the first time meeting again.
Wow.
Yeah, we do that a lot here.
I'm sensing some deja vu. We just, we didn't really play this game before, but it's kind of winging it. And I think Larissa said like something about like this being like her first time playing
It was her first
D&D.
RPG.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I can't wait to talk to you about it, Larissa.
So actually, no, I don't think that's true because I think she played some at PAX, but this was like her first like streamed campaign thing.
Like
Yeah.
first like full on like actual like whole campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually noticed a difference. So in the last one, season 1, we had 4 members, and in season 2, we have 5 members. What was the reason for the extra?
Well, yeah. So I wanted to increase the party size because I thought like. So I was going back and forth probably for the whole, at least half of the campaign, of since we're telling a crime story and a lot of gangster stories, a lot of crime stories. There's a moment where either somebody or like a portion of the gang, there's some kind of betrayal, and I was like, okay, if there's a PvP situation, I don't want it to be like, and then these 3 players kill this 1 player. So I'll try to like balance it out a bit more with an odd number. But you know, we'll see how things turn out.
Yes, and yes, you guys will. Trust me. Buckle up. Buckle up. If you weren't the DM in this game, who do you think you would want to be?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, I'm trying to think. I'm trying not to spoil anything.
Don't spoil anything.
I think there's a character we meet in the first episode that's kind of mysterious, and I would probably want to play that character.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me who it is later. Because I'm like thinking like, there's a lot of mysteriousness in this first one.
They have a sword.
We're meeting,
Yeah. And I'll just leave it at that.
Come back once you've seen the whole season 2. Come right back to this video. And then you'll be like,
You'll get it. You'll be like, it makes sense.
So, just touching on like the contrast between like Glee and this group. So, what do you think would happen if Glee met this crew? Do you think they'd be able to like complete something together? Like if they were on like a quote unquote like quest, and it doesn't really get like quests in like the real world in Night City, do you think they'd be able to like complete like a mission per se?
I feel like at some point the Glee crew would be at odds with this crew. Because I think their morality is different. Like I think the Glee crew is like, you know, they're heroes, they're trying to save people, trying to save the day. But a lot of these characters are really selfish, and they have like their own personal wants and needs are kind of like at the forefront. And they kind of only really are together by circumstance when we see them in episode 1. So yeah, I think that there would be a confrontation.
And this, it's gonna sound weird, but that's what I kind of like about this season is like, you know, everybody before in season 1 was buddy, they all knew each other, and they had just known each other from before, and then, you know, this time we're kind of seeing them meet by coincidence, and I can't wait to get further to talk about that more. But you know, they kind of meet each other by chance, and I feel like they're a lot more like darker and edgier and kind of like hurt by life, for like lack of a better term, and it's nice to see like an edgier type of character.
Yeah, and I gotta say hats off to the cast for that, because when we were in session 0, I was like, you know, I want to tell a crime story, and like, you know, I really want the tone to be a little bit more mature, and especially for a lot of them, like meeting each other for the first time, I think it shows how great of an actors most of them, if not all of them, are, of like, you know, to step in to like be like, hey, I don't know this person, but I'm about to be really abrasive to them in this game that we're playing, and then we'll cut the camera off and we'll all go get lunch, you know. So, yeah, I think the performances are really great, and I really appreciate that they brought these characters to life in a way that feels authentic. Of like, if these characters actually met each other, this is how it would be. And they weren't just like immediately friends, because we're all friends, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I kind of like, you know, like, especially like props to like all of them, like being able to adapt. Like it's one thing, like it's still a whole other challenge when you're like, oh, I just met you, we're gonna be buddies, but it's, oh, I just met you.
Yeah.
I just get so nervous. Even like when acting, I'm just like, after that, like, I like you, you know that, right? You know that, right? Yeah. It was just acting, you know.
I'm sorry.
I like you. This is nothing like not me venting real emotions. So I guess this can be either, you can choose, this can either be about Night City Stories or about like DMing in general. What is your favorite part about being a DM?
Oh, the surprises. The players always surprise you. And I think one of the best parts is when players make bold choices that you don't expect. I think that I think there were a couple in this first episode. Um, I think like the way Ash decided to play Raven and how Raven interacted with Zigzag or tried to at least. I thought that was really interesting because we never really spoke about the players don't know what their intro scene is, so they just tell me what their character is, and I'm like cool, and then I throw them into a situation and they react. So like that scene, and then Larissa as Ruby in the car, and like dealing with all the stuff that happened with Calypso, and like, I think that like the players really took the reins in episode 1, and like those surprises really are my favorite thing about it for sure.
Yes, I love Ruby and Zigzag's like dynamic. You know, like I'm the tired mom, I really need a break, and then Zigzag is just being Zigzag, purposefully making Ruby's life harder.
All the time, yeah.
It's like a more mature theme, but at the same time, you know, like it has like those lighthearted, funny moments, which like, you know, like you gotta have a laugh every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tired mom is also an interesting way to put it because you can tell that like they have this sort of affection towards each other, but their relationship is you know, it's strained because Zigzag's like trying to be her own person, but also you know, trying to be a rock star, and so she needs Ruby, and so their symbiotic relationship is one of the charms of this season for sure.
I love it, and I love Sid and Gizmo's relationship. Obviously, you know, like it sounds like they've been through a lot together, and they're really close knit. And I just love Raven's like smart quips at everybody. I think like when they first ran into each other, Raven said something about, "Oh, hope you feel better," and just walked away.
Yeah, it's like, what do I care?
Oh my god, Raven! I can't wait to get further into this because Raven is just such a great character and just has so many funny like quips and moments, and it's just
Raven's definitely one of my favorites. Like the Ruby and Zigzag and the Gizmo and Sid relationships, I thought were another like surprise because we didn't talk about that in session 0, and so both of those like close bonds happened in the moment when we were recording. So I was like, oh, okay, this is a really cool development. I didn't know that like these characters were going to be connected like that. As we see in episode 1 of like the hook for Gizmo was to assassinate someone who we find out was is Sid. And so the way that they played that I thought was really interesting because in my head I was like, okay, well I have to have like a combat encounter prepared because they're gonna have to fight each other, but no, they played it in a way that I thought was way more interesting. So yeah, it was a wonderful surprise.
So you mentioned that this time for season 2 you guys had to have a session 0 as compared to season 1, right? So what happens in like a session 0? Is it kind of like dipping your feet in the water, like getting acclimated to like your character and stuff like that? Like what happens in a session 0?
Yeah, so I really wanted to have one for season 1, but the schedules just didn't line up. So for this season, I think everybody does it a little differently, but for me, I like to do lines and veils. So for those who don't know, lines and veils are essentially, it's like boundary setting. So lines are areas that you don't cross. So it's like you're setting a line, we won't cross this line. And so like types of content, types of stories. Just making sure that everybody feels comfortable at the table because like the performances I mentioned, we wouldn't be able to have those if people didn't feel comfortable and we weren't respecting each other. So that's the first thing we do for sure. Veils are like things that we can have in the game, but it'd be like a fade to black moment, or it'd be like veiled or obfuscated. So we're cutting away from it. We're fading to black. So like if there were sex scenes or whatever, whatever we decided the veils were, then those kind of things would be things that moments we cut away from. So, so yeah, we establish those, and then it gives people a chance to like try out their character. So some people had like dialects that they were trying out that they may or may not have decided to go with, and like trying out the system and learning what kind of build they wanted to have for their character. So that's kind of what we did. I can't remember if we did like a session 0 adventure or not, but it's really just like cameras are off, mics are off, safe space, like let's play and figure this out.
Oh, nice. So now let's try and get into episode 1, and it's a mouthful because I feel like it's, like I said, it's very different because this time our group does not meet by, they haven't already met. They met by chance, by circumstance. So we start off by, like a player introduction. We meet all of our players and we start to meet our crew. We have Sid, Zigzag, Gizmo, and Ruby, and Raven. So we begin with Finnick, and Finnick is asking Sid to do a job for him, and she has to bring something to the amphitheater, which is where we find out where Zigzag is going to be performing. And if you didn't know, Zigzag is part of a band called Caterpillar Soup, and Caterpillar Soup is this amazing band that Zigzag is part of. It's her band, and performing at the amphitheater is going to be her big break. So we see Zigzag and very tired very tired Ruby trying to contain Zigzag, but like Carmen has said before, Zigzag is kind of like her own person and she wants to do a lot of what she wants to do. But we also meet a new friend, which I personally love, Thrice Down Triple Duke. Thrice Down Triple Duke is the owner of a music store which Zigzag frequents, and her friend Pip. And Pip kind of tries to ask her out, and she's like,
"Get out of here."
Get in. Yeah, in a much more nicer way. She's like, "Get out of here, man. Like, sorry, I'm a rock star. Kind of do what I want to do."
Sorry, I'm a rock star.
I'm sorry, I'm a rock star. I can't be pictured with you right now. And with Ruby, we meet Calypso. They're crazy. Well, I don't know. They have some history that I'm sure we will be delving into, but Calypso, they were actually sent to kill Ruby, so Ruby, I love how Ruby's just kind of like tired and unfazed, with like, just get out of the car. Like,
it's a Tuesday
you
for
broke
Ruby.
into my car, like you literally. But Calypso decided not to go through it because, obviously, like, ex-lover, got some feelings still, who knows, stay tuned, watch the next episodes, you never know what's gonna happen between Calypso and Ruby. And we meet Gizmo and his sister Priya. Priya is pregnant, and I believe Gizmo lives with Priya, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and we kind of just get to meet a little bit more about Gizmo, kind of learn about his life, and then we're kind of like panning through and we see Raven, and Raven was out of a crime family, Novas, and the Novas are a enemy family to the Bonitos, which is Zigzag's family, which we find out. So, Raven kind of has Bug, who we find out is like trying to like, in a way, help her. So Raven has been like put in this like difficult position, as we will soon find out. And we meet Sid with she has to grab what was it called, hollow disc, I want to say, holograph, like a hollow disc from Finnick to give to Nyx, which is a good friend of Finnick. So Sid has to go to this amphitheater, and she later finds Gizmo there, and where they made that brilliant idea, I did not know that it was improvised, that Gizmo got a text that he thought was from Sid, and Gizmo's like really on alert. He's like, what is going on right now? And Sid's just like, I just need to get this job done for Finnick so I can go home. But we kind of find out that Finnick and Nyx have betrayed Sid and are there to kill her, but more stuff goes down in the amphitheater as well, because there are people trying to kill Ruby, and there are people trying to kill Zigzag, and this is literally our first episode, and it is just coming in hot. So Raven actually saves Zigzag's life. Raven jumps in front of Zigzag before anybody is able to shoot her, and Zigzag is able to save Ruby, and it's just this really quick, like, all of a sudden, like, they kind of meet each other by chance, all happening to be at this amphitheater. And they don't really happen to grow close at first, because like I mentioned before, with like, I believe it was Raven and the security guard running into Sid and Gizmo, and it's just like, oh, you're hurt. Hope you feel better.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. And everybody at this point, they're like, all right, we gotta go. And we last see Bug taking Raven into I believe it was a car. It was a limousine. Yes, it was a limousine at gunpoint driving into Night City.
Ooh, where are they going?
Where are they going? What's going on?
I don't know.
I don't know. But I'm really excited for all of you to start seeing season 2 of season 2 Night City Stories. It's a really awesome story about, just people kind of actually coming together as opposed to people that were already close-knit and together. So it's a really interesting contrast. We're so happy you're here to listen to episode 1 of Around the Realm, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.